For more than 2 centuries, the legend of an untold treasure buried somewhere in Stranja mountain by the Valchan Voivode has been circulating. No one knows where it is buried, but many believe it exists. The mystery haunts neither historians nor treasure hunters from all over Bulgaria. The great outlaw who roamed Stranja mountain owned heaps of gold, says the folk legend. He buried his treasures in a secret place in the mountain and left a map for his descendants, indicating the vault. Valchan amassed his wealth from attacks on Ottoman and Bulgarian Corbagis. He himself was an avid treasure hunter. Legend also tells that he discovered in one of the caves of Stranja a huge ancient treasure, left from the time of the Thracians. With it, his wealth became so great that the voivode asked to pay the Russians to send their troops to Bulgaria to fight against Turkey. Nearly 100 years before the liberation, the outlaw sent his men to the Russian emperor. The envoys told the ruler that Voivode Valchan had prepared tons of gold with which to pay for the freedom of Bulgaria. He ordered his men to convey that the wealth would reach Russia immediately after the war, loaded on trains. To this day, old people in Stranja pass on by word of mouth the incredible legends of Valchan's exploits. I know from my father, and he from his father, that the Valchan Voivode sent a message to the Russian Tsar. He said that he was ready to pay the entire murabi for the war, the soldiers' salaries, the pensions of the widows and children, and the soldiers' ammunition. Unfortunately, the Russian Tsar did not bother to start a war. Or he did not believe that an outlaw could have such wealth. Says 80-year-old grandfather Hristo from the Stranja village of Stoilovo. According to legend, Valchan sent many young people to study abroad and paid their living expenses so that there would be educated people after the liberation. Many places and localities are associated with his name. He died in Brela, where he went to live with his closest friend and comrade in arms, priest Martin. His name is known not only in Stranja, but also in Saka, central and eastern Stara Planina. His band roamed even in northern Bulgaria. He lived in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, a time of weakened central authority and chaos in the European part of the then Ottoman Empire. During these troubled years, not only bands of outlaws, created by wrong Bulgarians, roamed, but also robber groups and hordes of Kurds, who devastated everything in their path. The birthplace of the outlaw is still unknown. Historians argue about 3 different settlements in the Malko Tarnovo region. The version that he was born in the village of Delivo, 5 kilometers from Malko Tarnovo, which no longer exists today, prevails in the dispute. The earliest historical sources connect his youth with the villages of Tagarevo, today Valchanovo, and Farkija. His paternal family, the Bimbalovtsi, also originated from there, who were the descendants of the fierce Momchil Voivoda, who died in 1345 in a battle with the Turkish troops. The famous outlaw, Stefan Karadja, also came from the same family. Their distant relative, Valchan, inherited their violent and rebellious temper. He gathered his troops when he was only 18 years old. Passionate but unhappy love made him grab a weapon and stand up to the Turkish enslavers. Before he set out on the Haju paths, Valchan was a shepherd and meekly grazed his father's sheep near his native village. At that time, the young man fell in love with the beautiful Rada, who was the most beautiful girl in the village. He decided to ask her father to marry him. However, as soon as he sent the matchmakers and word of the future engagement spread, the local Sabashia jumped up as if he was scalded. The Turkish chief had long had his eye on the girl and quickly dealt with her suitor. He sent messengers to take Valchan back to the inn and ordered him to be beaten severely. He threatened him that if he looked at Rada again, he would kill him. Then he kidnapped the beautiful girl and took her as his wife to his inn. This love drama turned the life of the meek shepherd upside down. Valchan quickly abandoned the shepherd's job, firmly determined to stand up to the Sebastian rapist. He gathered several young men, acquired weapons, and seized the forest. The first task he set for his modest group was to kill the thief who had stolen his forest. One night, armed to the teeth, the young bandits attacked him and killed him in his home. Then they took Rada with them. Shortly after, however, a Turkish pursuit began on their trail. A battle began, and the beautiful girl was fatally shot. After her tragic death, Valchan fell into a rage. He decided to take revenge for the insulted honor and the taken life of his beloved. He gathered an even larger detachment and ordered punitive actions against Turkish rulers throughout Strangia. He took the head of any non-believer who dared to commit atrocities in the mountains. However, the main occupation of the group was the robberies of the Sultan's treasuries. Legend has it that Valchan had an invaluable assistant, a Turk named Kara Emin Agha, who rose to the position of secretary to the Sultan. He was his yatak in the enemy camp and informed him about the movement of the treasuries and the routes of the caravans. As soon as he received the necessary information, Valchan guarded the passes with his comrades and attacked from an ambush. With each raid, the bandits took away entire saddlebags full of gold. They hid most of the loot in secret caves, and for themselves they left only enough to survive the cold winters, which they usually spent in Constantinople, today's Istanbul, in complete illegality. According to one legend, the Sultan became so desperate about the robberies that he ordered new money to be printed, the Mamudiyet. After several of these new Mamudiyet were found in Kara Emin Agha, he fell into disgrace and his collaboration with Valchan was revealed. To save his head, the yatak fled Constantinople in the middle of the night before hearing his death sentence. On his way, however, he was captivated by a Bulgarian girl and decided to kidnap her. An act that Valchan did not forgive even to his closest people. Death overtook Kara Agha in the face of Valchan. The voivode did not forgive his friend for kidnapping and raping the Bulgarian girl, and he beheaded him. Folklore describes the legendary outlaw as a tall and large man with long black hair and bright dove-like eyes that pierced like arrows. Most legends about the untold treasure of Valchan hid it in one or another cave in Strangia. As many legends, as many treasure hunters. The search for it has been going on for 2 centuries. However, the legends are similar in one thing: they all claim that the voivode hid the wealth with the help of carriers who never understood where the cash was. Having found a suitable place for a hiding place, the outlaw and his gang took with them workers with tools, but led them there blindfolded. They prepared the place, left the money, and again blindfolded them back. The entire Valchan squad had taken a sinister oath to guard the secret places until the grave. Many treasure hunters believe that one of the main hiding places is Snezhanitsa, a wooded area with a large cave in the land of the village of Karadir, now in Turkey. It is assumed that a bishop's crown and a golden cross are buried there. They are believed to have belonged to the Greek bishop of Edirne, who was killed because he was suspected by the outlaws of being an informer for the Turks. But no one has found them. The heirs of the Valchan Voivode, who live in present-day Romania, have also traveled around Strangia more than once, armed with the aforementioned map, but they also found nothing. The treasure of the Valchan Voivode is still being searched for in many places in the country, in Stranja, in Stara Planina, and elsewhere. One legend says that Valchan and his people buried gold and precious jewelry in a sea cave, which can only be reached after passing through narrow flooded tunnels. Another rumor claims that parts of the treasure were discovered 40 years ago near the mouth of the Ropotamo River. According to the locals, this happened back in 1970. Then a specially sent team of the former Bulgarian Communist Party arrived in Primorsko. They settled in the town and for weeks went around the forest around the Arkutino swamp with a metal detector. They also dug in the area near Perla Bay, and then near the mouth of the Ropotamo River and Marslen numbers. They asked the locals at length what they had heard about the treasure of the legendary outlaw. They even reached the local fisherman, Uncle Yanni. In those years, Yanni told many that he personally knew a participant in the burial of the Hajduk treasure in the region, one of the closest associates of the Valchan Voivode. The fisherman swore that even when he was a child, a former Hajduk, now in old age, had revealed the secret to him. The Chetnik kept his oath not to reveal the exact location of the estate, but he described the location. Most people looked at his story with ridicule, but the people with the metal detector were visibly impressed. At their request, he took them to where he thought the cache was. The very next day, the mysterious treasure hunters disappeared from Primorsko, and Uncle Yanni discovered a huge dug ditch in the place he had indicated. Many caves and areas have been excavated by treasure hunters over the past 2 centuries in search of treasures, but their fate is still unknown. Undoubtedly, Valchan Voivode is one of the most mystical figures in our history, mainly due to the many contradictory information about his life. Although there is a lack of specific historical data, he left a bright mark in the minds of Bulgarians from the first half of the 19th century. With the protection he provided to the people and with his aspiration to restore Bulgaria, he appeared as one of the first fighters for national liberation. The fate of the riches that Valchan and his band accumulated is still unknown, but let us hope that if they exist, most of them were spent in the name of his ideal, a preserved and free Bulgaria. Valchan Voivoda is a real person whose achievements and merits are so significant that they border on the legendary. This is another story from the native chronicle, which falls between myth and reality, and we will hardly ever find out what the truth was. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the World Chronicles channel and give a thumbs up under the video in support.